Hello and welcome to the Reseller Stories Podcast. This week we have a guest on the podcast, Dave from eBLISS, and he also has a podcast himself with him and a co-host called the Hustler Mindset Podcast. Welcome aboard, Dave. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it as well. I can't wait to make it back down to Tennessee and hit up the Nashville flea market. I know that's on the fourth. I think it's the fourth weekend of every month. And I heard good things about it, but nice to be on here. And I listened to your podcast, and what a great title for a podcast, Reseller Stories Podcast. And the stories are endless. It's just a matter of getting people in to share with you. Mm-hmm. So very happy to be here.
Thank you. And hopefully doing these Zoom calls, I'll get more people on board. Nice. They like to tell the stories themselves, I believe. So
very true.
But before we get into the stories, why don't you tell me a little bit about eBLISS and your podcast?
Sure. Yeah. My wife and I started eBLISS, which is a fulfillment company similar to Amazon FBA, but it's mainly geared towards helping thrifters, people that buy the one-off used items at thrift stores, and they don't have the space in their house or apartment, townhouse, and they don't have the commitment every day to be shipping. As we know, if you have an active reseller business, you could be shipping out 2 hours a day, picking, packing, shipping, and hauling down to the post office. And people get sick of that after a while, and then they just stop their reselling business. So we started eBLISS a while back, and we just launched last year. Live and helping resellers that don't want to have to pick, pack, and ship their items and ship them out to their clients. So we're excited. My wife and I really have been working hard on that. And we have a 6,000 square foot warehouse up here in just south of Denver. It's half an hour south of Denver. And we're meeting a lot of resellers that are happy to get their time and their space back. And as we call it, restore the joy in reselling, which we all know we love to go out and source. That's why we started it, and that's what will keep us coming back for more.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely a problem we run into is space. We bought a shed about the beginning of fall, and got it full already. So I'm going to be looking for more space in the future myself.
Yeah, and a lot of resellers have a tendency to go once they get to that point, they're like, I have to start sourcing some smaller items because these turntables are taking up way too much space, even though they are nice, quick, hopefully quick money. They are clumsy and take up a lot of space. So, but yeah, so good luck to you with that. Keep on growing, keep on sourcing. That's what I always say. Just don't stop sourcing. If that death pile gets too big, you know what? Maybe you should redonate it to Goodwill. Maybe there's a reason why it's sitting there on the ground.
Absolutely. Would you tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Sure. Yeah. A friend of mine, Sebastian, who has a YouTube channel called Resell Junkie. He has close to 4,000 followers on YouTube. He and I do a weekly podcast that is on iTunes. It drops every Monday, and we talk life, business, and personal development. It's not all geared around reselling. It's really geared around just finding a nice little equilibrium in life, a nice balance of what you can control, what you can't control, maybe who you should surround yourself with, and also just identify yourself. What drives you, what kind of passions you have. And it's not scripted. It goes, each podcast is around 40 minutes long, and we just come up with topics off the top of our head. And next thing you know, we're off and running and just really enjoying it. And occasionally we have guests on as well to enlighten us with life, business, and personal development, which we all need in our life, right? We all need some inspiration.
Yeah, I really enjoy your podcast. I've started listening to it. I think the first time we talked, I started listening to it. And Sebastian, he is a very neat character. I mean, he got in there, got to talking about the ice baths and stuff like that. Yes. I'm in North Alabama, so it doesn't really get too cold. But in the winter, I have a trough I set outside, and I do the ice baths out there in the winter when it gets cold. And it gets sometimes it gets cold enough that it really hurts. But
Yeah, he's a 30-year-old young man with a lot of energy, and I have 20 years on him, so I'm kind of settling down. I don't need an ice. He calls them cold showers. Like
yeah,
he
hmm
but so he's an interesting guy, and he's a what's interesting is he came on board, and he helps us with our digital marketing with eBLISS, and he really inspired me a lot. He's that younger generation, as I shared with you before we got on the Zoom, that is always in front of the camera. And I'm the type that wants to be behind the camera. I don't want
yeah,
to share too much about, but he kind of took me out of my comfort zone and said, come on, let's go. Let's tell your story. Let's get people to know you. And same here with your podcast. And now you're doing Zooms. It'll become second nature for
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Right now it's it's a little touch and go, but
Yeah.
I listen to a bunch of the reselling podcasts, like I'm sure everybody else do, and YouTube videos. But the reason I wanted to come up with the reseller stories was there was a couple of times where we had some weird things happen, some funny things happen while we're outsourcing. So I was just wondering, I'm like, if we had these stories within 6 months of us starting a resale, I wonder what other stores other people have. So that's why I started this podcast, is to kind of, I enjoy the be on the lookout videos and how to do this and how to do that, but I'm interested in people's stories about
Yeah.
what they ran into. So
Oh,
that's why I invited you on the podcast, and I was just
sure.
wondering if you had a
Oh,
story you would like to share.
well, I've been going to the bins outside of Denver area for close to 8 years. So I have a ton of stories, and it's almost like when you ask somebody, "Hey, tell me a joke," it's like you can't think of them.
Yeah,
They.
yeah,
It's like the same thing. Like I have so many stories. I could tell you about the time a friend of mine he grabbed a vase out of the bin, and it looked like a moonshine jug, and he kind of slung it over his shoulder, and all of a sudden all these ashes started falling out on his shirt.
oh
So
goodness,
as you could imagine, it was not a moonshine jug, it was really an urn. So
wow,
so that's a weird story. I've seen a lot of elbowing and some people getting close to a couple of duking it out at the bins. As you can imagine, it's very aggressive and competitive. I just think the bins in particular, they really should do a Netflix series on
yeah,
those.
yeah, you're
They,
right.
it has it all. It has the everyone coveting what everybody else finds. But yeah, I've seen some crazy things. Found some amazing items over the years. Um, and that's why it's like I like tuning into your podcast, because the stories are only going to get better. That's for sure. There's so much out there, and people just are going to stumble upon amazing treasures, just bizarre finds, and yeah. So I could go on. I mean, there's been some crazy things I found. I think the most expensive thing I found was I forget exactly what it was, but it had to do with some type of like scientific device from like a lab of some sort. And I looked it up on eBay. It wasn't on eBay, but I Googled it, and brand new, they were going for like $6,000. And I found this in the bin. It was used. Yeah, it was used. And this was like 4 years ago. So I just said, you know what? I just want to list this and blow it out as fast as I can on eBay before I get flagged for it being a medical device or something like that. Like I didn't really know what it was. And sure enough, within 2 days, somebody bought it for $4,000 used.
Wow.
And yeah, I know and I was shocked. And I remember I shipped it to Calexico, California, which is right on the border of Mexico and California. And so I assume that was brought into Mexico for some type of lab or medical device. So you never know what you're going to find. It's
Yeah,
it's a nice blend of wild and valuable stuff.
absolutely. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we live here. We're in North Alabama, so right across the Tennessee line, down 65. And I think the closest Ben's to us is in Nashville. And I've only
Oh,
been to the
okay.
Ben's one time, and
Hmm.
it was something else. I didn't really know what the Ben's were at the time. You know, it's like there's a whole nother area. We're just gonna sit in here where the clothes and stuff are. So yeah, we ventured on to the Ben's at one time, and it was pretty intimidating.
It really, yeah, it really is. And you could always, I would say close to 85% of the people that go to the bins are almost go there every day.
Yeah.
They're professional pickers. They buy items and resell them at flea markets on the weekend and or online. And so there's a lot of people that it's an interesting dynamic there because it's like this etiquette of, you know what, you're not going to get everything. Just sometimes, tip your hat and just move on. And or if you find something that somebody else would like, you trade with them. Or it just, it's all about just balance and karma and all that stuff. And otherwise, you could get really consumed with coveting every single item that people find that you want.
Yeah.
That's unhealthy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good deal. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. We're going on about 15 minutes now, I guess. So
Oh, yeah.
I guess we can go ahead and get off here and let you get back to doing what you're doing. I know you're
Sure.
a busy guy, and I do appreciate you jumping on with me and being the first person to accept the Zoom call from a
Good.
brand new fella. And
Well,
I appreciate it.
nah, you're doing a great job. And I guess the most challenging thing is when you do a podcast or YouTube and you're the only person. It's like you can't bounce off
Yeah.
ideas off of someone else. So I give you credit for that because a lot of people are intimidated by it to starting a podcast, but I think you're going to be a natural. It comes naturally to you. You have some good stories and you're a reseller, and it's just a matter of bringing people on here to share their wild stories. And next thing you know, you'll be entertaining a huge audience. Let's hope.
I
So,
hope so.
but
I hope so.
thanks for having me on today. Great meeting you in person, I guess, and hope to see you again. And maybe in person, I will definitely make it down to northern Alabama or meet in Nashville,
Yep.
perhaps.
Yep. Yeah. If you ever out my way, give me a call. Hit
Oh
me up.
yeah, without a doubt.
But I appreciate it. And with that, we're out.